When it comes to resale, making sure your home stays up to date is how you ensure you'll get the most bang for your buck. Hi, I'm Angela Chase Triplet. I'm a former radio host turned realtor and a home renovation enthusiast. Right now, I am undergoing a kitchen renovation, so I've invited you along for the journey. And in this video, I do want to talk a bit about what it's like having a 1931 house, how we are maintaining the character and charm and respecting the fact that it's from 1931, but also bringing our kitchen into the modern era. So let's start with the chimney right behind me. We actually have two of these chimneys because our house was originally a duplex, so we've got one on either side. I think they are fantastic. I fell in love with them whenever we saw our house. Anytime somebody comes over, that's one of the first things that they comment on. And oddly enough, I do think that my father-in-law, who's our cabinet maker, was trying to convince us to get rid of at least one of those chimneys, but we stuck to our guns. Another homage to 1931 is in our cabinet doors. It's a shaker style, not a true shaker because it's not a flat panel with just a frame around it. It has the flat panel and the frame, but then there is a gradual step down, about 3 grooves that bridge the gap between the frame and the panel. That's also how our doors, like our closet doors and even our back door until we replaced it, are designed. So I think it's really cool to go ahead and take that style, bring it into the cabinets, and then it stays fluid throughout the house. Now, this is something that I am super duper pumped about. This is my cabinet hardware for the upper cabinets with the glass. So it's gonna look kind of like this once it's done. These are in an Art Deco style. I absolutely love Art Deco, but they also look very similar to the knob plates that are on our doors throughout the house. So I think it's a nice subtle tie-in. And these are solid brass with a chrome coating. I got them from Etsy actually, and I'll go ahead and link the Etsy store down below because I think these are just great quality. I also got these pulls to go with it. These are more of a masculine pull, but they still have that nice Art Deco step down. I mean, if I was gonna get something this girly, I had to do something sort of manly for my husband. It's a nice balance between the feminine and the masculine in our house. But these will go on all of the cabinets that just have a solid panel in the front and also the lower cabinets. And we did buy these and use them on our old cabinets just to make sure that we liked them. And we have been very, very pleased with the quality. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure how prevalent display cabinets were back in the 1930s, but I think they're beautiful and I wanted to have them. So we did opt to put glass fronts all along one side of our upper cabinets, which meant that we got to go to a glass maker and choose our glass. They have lots of examples. We had them narrow down which were the antique glasses, something that was based on a leaded pattern. We did narrow it down to 3. There was antique German, seated, and then also just the plain clear glass, which is ultimately what we went for because, well, there was quite the price discrepancy. And with all of this movement and pattern going on in the backsplash, we thought, you know what, we don't need that in the glass anyway. Something else we opted to keep is the wainscoting. I'm not sure that ours is truly original to our house since there have been a number of renovations, including a kitchen expansion. But if you do look at some of the houses in the neighborhood that are built in the 1920s and 30s, you'll see a lot of wainscoting details. I also just really enjoy having it in the kitchen because it's so hard wearing. If there's any sort of a spill, it's very easy to wipe off. And I have 3 dogs, so you know that there are some messes that get made in this kitchen. Our house came with a stainless steel sink that had the divider. I think those were probably very practical whenever people still did a lot of hand washing of their dishes, but we now live in a day and age where most of us do have a dishwasher. So I definitely wanted to get a farm sink and I opted for cast iron. We do have a cast iron bathtub in our guest room. Also, my grandparents had a cast iron sink I remember that growing up. So to me, it felt very authentic for the time period. We opted for a white version because we thought that would be the most classic and timeless. And if we ever did decide to sell our house, and for some reason, if somebody did not like the stone and wanted to change it out, that white would match everything. I know brass and gold are extremely popular when it comes to fixtures at the moment, but I was born in the early 80s, and I remember the late 80s and early 90s when brass was all the rage, and I remember when it also went out of style. So I decided to stick with classic chrome when it came to the fixtures like the faucet. I also got a stainless steel range, but it is accessorizable. So we bought the range all stainless steel. However, we did get a gold handle, gold knobs, and knob rings, and it looks really fantastic next to the brick chimney. It takes a lot of the warmth that's in the oranges and brings it into that cool steel color. I think it's really, really great, and I'm super pleased with this stove. In fact, I think I'm gonna do an entirely separate video on the oven, but first we have to get it hooked up so I can tell you how it cooks. Speaking of the faucet, yes, we did decide to go chrome. We also went with a design that is modern. It's very thin, and it has modern features like, you know, the pull down sprayer, and it has one single levered handle. I think the bridges are really pretty, but the idea of having a separate hot and gold I just think is not very practical in the kitchen. It also would mean that you'd have to drill more holes into the countertop, and because we love our stone so much, we want to make sure that as much of it stays exposed as possible. But the faucet that we bought is kind of a throwback style. It looks a little older, and it also is from the same line as the faucets that we put in our bathroom, so there is a bit of tie-in throughout the house. So now that we've talked about how we are maintaining the character of the 1930s in our house, I want to talk a little bit about how we are modernizing. Now, the first space I want to talk about, I would consider to be a bit of a transitional space, and that's the floor. The reason is when we bought our house, it did have black and white checkered floor in the kitchen, but it was like a cheap particle board, and we ended up getting a leak underneath our sink, so we had to pull all of the flooring up, and that's when we discovered that we had original hardwoods underneath, although they were in dire need of stripping and staining. So we did that, and the reason I call it transitional is because while the floors are original, that's not necessarily how they were styled decades ago. In fact, we've had to peel off some lovely linoleum, but we do intend to keep our glorious hardwoods exposed. Our cabinets are also getting a modern twist because we have decided to bring them all the way to the ceilings. We have 9-foot ceilings, and bringing those cabinets all the way up to the top certainly draws the eye up. It makes the kitchen feel a lot taller, more spacious, and it also keeps all of the dust from accumulating on the top. I will say that was not a fun part of taking the old cabinets down, and aren't we really past the days of putting grapevine on top of cabinets? We also opted for the soft close hinges on our cabinets. They're pretty pricey, but in terms of resale, it's a great option. People love those soft close hinges. You'll enjoy them. And I think our last bit of modernization has to be the backsplash. This stone backsplash is just incredible. It's seamless, no grout lines. We are actually putting all of our outlets on the underside of the cabinet along with lighting, so it'll better display the backsplash, but also we don't want to have a hole cut out of that beautiful backsplash so that we can look at an ugly outlet. Do I think this is a trend, putting slab as the backsplash? I do. I really think that it is a trend, but I don't think it's anything that we're going to be moving away from because I think it's just such a luxurious touch. You're getting a great quality material, a beautiful, unique product, and I think that's something we're going to continue to see into the future. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and if there is any sort of a real estate or home renovation topic you'd like to discuss, please let me know in the comments section down below. Now, I do plan to talk about the ways that we are alleviating a bit of the financial strain from going over budget. That will be coming up. I'll also tell you how you can keep your renovation on track.